Today, I am so excited to welcome Silvie from the Concussion Community to Hope Survives podcast. Welcome, Silvie. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk with you, and we've kind of interacted on Instagram for a little while, and I'm really looking forward to, this is our first time talking like virtual face to face.
Yeah.
So it's really great to meet you.
Yeah, say nice to meet you. I love talking on this right now.
That's good. So, can you share a little bit of who you are and where you're from for our listeners?
Yes, of course. So my name is Silvie. I live in the Netherlands and I just moved from Amsterdam to a more rural place where I live right now. I am 31 years old and I created this community for other people who sustain a concussion because I sustained one in 2017 and I sustained it by a scooter accident. So I was driving home on my scooter. I just took the train and I jumped on my scooter and then I bumped into another scooter. And then I fell on the floor, but I never hit my head. So I was a bit confused in the beginning and didn't know I sustained a concussion. I just felt like, okay, everything is wrong. I don't know what it is, but I'm not feeling well. So it was a journey of confusion, frustration, not knowing what to do to move forward, visiting many doctors who didn't know what to do most of the time. And just figuring out a lot of things just on my own. And I think most of the listeners can relate to this. Um, so that's basically my story of the last 5 years, concussion recovery. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So, I'm so excited to dive deeper into that because
Yeah.
I think, we hear you had to figure out a lot of things on your own. And isn't that so many of our story because it is invisible?
I
So
know.
let's just go to the beginning. So when you got your accident, you didn't actually hit your head. And we know now that you don't have to hit your head to sustain a
Mhm.
concussion. You
Yes.
can the force if it bounces
It
your
was a
brain.
whiplash. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't know about it now.
Yeah. And so what was the process like for you realizing that you were, having symptoms? Did you connect it to the fall initially, or did you think it was mental health, or what was your process in discovering that?
Well, I knew it was related to the fall because I never felt this way and I felt very weird right after the fall. And in the first few days, let's say the 2 days after the fall, I felt so weird and a bit confused, but my symptoms weren't the worst. It was more like I was in a rush or something after the fall. And this lasted 2 days. And then after 2 days, I started to notice that everything was bothering me. So all sounds, all impressions. Just I went to my work the day after the accident, and I knew that I couldn't remember things. I was so confused, and all the people. It's a really busy office. Were bothering me, so I didn't know what was happening. I felt just so weird, and I thought, okay, I just need some rest, and then I will be okay. So I remember I went to the office. I think it was on Wednesday, and I went home on Friday and I told my boss, okay, I need one weekend of rest and I will be back Monday because then I'm sure I'm feeling well. But on Monday I felt even worse, and I remember I called him. I need just one extra week to recover, and then I will be okay. But yeah, the week last wasn't. I wasn't feeling better at the end of the week. So the week became like a month, and then it became like 6 months, and then a year, and that was the hardest thing because I didn't know how long it would last. I didn't know what to tell my boss. I didn't know what to tell the people around me, and yeah, that was so confusing.
Yeah. And they just told you to rest?
Yeah, I went to my doctor the week after the accident, and he told me I had a whiplash. So I thought, okay, it's neck pain. Maybe I need to go to a physiotherapist or something. And that's the only thing he mentioned. But he told me first, okay, go home, rest. He gave me some medicine to relax a bit more, and that's it. And I remember I went to him like 5 times after the accidents. And all the time he just said, okay, you need more rest. It can take a bit longer. And he sent me to a psychologist and gave me this note with anxiety disorder. So
Oh
I
no.
felt so misunderstood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you realize it was a concussion?
Well, after I think it was 2 years after the accident, I visited a doctor, and this doctor told me, "What are your symptoms exactly?" So I made this list of all symptoms I had, and he told me, "Okay, all these symptoms are not only from a whiplash, but from a concussion." And from that moment, a new world opened up because I was for 2 years I was focused on this whiplash part, right? And then after 2 years, I started Googling on concussion treatments instead of whiplash, because if you focus on whiplash, it's mostly about the neck and that's it. So yeah, after 2 years, I realized I had a concussion. So it took very long to realize this. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And the fact that he basically diagnosed you with anxiety, you're not the first person that I've talked to that's had a brain injury misdiagnosed as a psychological issue.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult because you can't see it on the outside. And so, there's a big difference between something being neurological and psychological, because talk therapy is not going to help something if it's neurological.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I felt that it wasn't a right diagnosis. I felt it, but I did read a note when I came home. He gave me the referral to the psychologist, and I read the letter at home, and there I saw this note, and I thought, oh, he didn't even listen to what I, I said to him. But yeah, I didn't go to the psychologist by reading that note. I thought I need some other help.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. So when you found out that it was a concussion, what happened next?
Yeah, I started to look for treatments for concussions. I tried neurofeedback therapy. I went to all the way from the Netherlands to America for cognitive fix treatments, and it really helped me. And I felt like I didn't improve in the first 2 years because I just didn't receive the right treatment. I didn't know what to do. And then after 2 years, something changed because I knew what my diagnoses were, and I knew what to focus on. So I started with some cognitive things, with exercising, and a lot of things changed after this 2 year mark. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And for our listeners, I just want you to take note of that the correct treatment makes a huge difference for brain injuries and for concussions. When you have the right treatment, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you can do so many things. Like in my first 2 years, I tried things for my whiplash, like physiotherapist, stretching my neck, and things like this. But I was treating only the neck pain and not the cognitive part, for example. So yeah, you really need to focus on the right things. And the hardest thing is that we are all different, right? So for some people, one thing would work, and for the other people, another thing would work. So that makes it really hard. But yeah, I believe when you try many things, there should be one thing that would work. And it's about never giving up. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are so many more treatments out now. I had my brain injury in 2007. So 10 years before you had
Yeah.
yours. And
Wow.
it's so crazy because I didn't even start to get like treatment for certain parts of it, like the dysautonomia and the vestibular, until 2018 and 2019, because only in the last, like, I want to say 5 years or so, are more practitioners aware of the concussion research,
Yeah.
and is there uh, more treatments available that actually do help and actually work, and they're not just telling you to rest.
I can't even imagine, because then weren't any support groups online as well, right?
Yeah,
So it
well,
was just
yeah.
you without all the online information and everything. That would be really hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's why I made my page Hope After Hendry in 2012. So I
Yeah.
didn't. There weren't any other ones out there,
Yeah. Yeah. So
and
you were the
so
first.
sort of, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Wow.
I just felt alone, and I just didn't want other people to feel that way. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so let's go into that. How did having the online access to support groups help you to kind of shape your recovery?
Well, at first, like you said, I felt very alone because most people in my and like friends or like employees or family didn't had a concussion, so it felt like I was just the only person in the world dealing with those things. So finding these groups helped me to at first to know that I'm not alone in this and that I'm not crazy having all these symptoms. And I find also just some tips that were really helping because they went through exactly the same thing, and hearing about what helps them is so helpful because there were many things I didn't even think of myself, or I discovered new treatments because of them, because I just asked them, okay, what did you do for your concussion? And yeah, they are sharing their things. And just these two things, getting the right um, treatments, right knowledge and everything, and the support from them when you are, for example, having a bad day and no one around you will understand, but they will because they are in the same situation, and that's really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's so much
Yeah.
power in community, and I love the
Yeah.
online connection that we do have for brain injury. So, when we were talking about planning this episode, the title or a theme that you came up with was called "Rebuilding Your Life After a Concussion."
Yeah.
So, let's just talk a little bit about that. What does it mean to you to rebuild your life?
Well, it's not about forgetting what happened or trying to just ignore what's there, like your symptoms or how you feel, but more about seeing the positive side of a concussion as well, instead of focusing on what you will miss, what you can't do anymore. Maybe the feeling of feeling hopeless, like, okay, I will never be able to heal again, or questions like this. I focused on this for so long, on this negative side, because that was all I just saw in my first year. And then I realized I just don't want to, yeah, just feel like this all the time. And I was just like waiting before there's a miracle should happen, and before there was something that would heal me and that brings me back to the old me. But after feeling like this for years, you realize, okay, something needs to change, because you don't want to put your life on pause, and you don't want to wait all the time before you can start living your life again, because what if you will never improve? I don't want to think about this question, but there could be an option, right? So I want to make the best out of it, and focusing on all the things I can do at this moment. And it really helped me sometimes just to tell myself, okay, I am just in this moment right now. I can do this, I can do that. And I just don't want to focus on my old life and what I could do, maybe because I could do more in my old, let's say, old life. I don't want to call it like that, but I could do more. But sometimes I just notice that I am even enjoying like the small things even more than before the accident. And a lot of things did change because I'm not rushing through life anymore like I was before the accident. I was always like running from one friend to another friend, from work to my fitness, or I was always doing something, and I really had this fear of missing out on things, and I was just always busy. And right now, I know how to slow down, and that feels great too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But it took
yeah,
probably some time to get to the understanding that it slowing down could maybe feel good or be a good thing.
yeah.
So, what are some major changes or coping strategies that you've had to put in place after your concussion?
Well, I started with things like meditation and yoga. These were two things I never did before the accident, but now I love them and I do them almost on a daily basis. So that's really helping me. But I also changed just a lot about, for example, nutrition or exercise. I don't push myself to do all these things, but I try to enjoy it right now, and only when it makes me feel more like like happy instead of always this pushing and doing more and more and more. And now I'm just slowing down and enjoying it even more. And and the most important thing is that I changed this 40-hour work week into creating this community. And that's something that I always wanted, like doing something for myself and helping other people. And I never, before the accident, I never had any idea of how I could do that, but this journey resulted in something like this. And I didn't even plan it, but it just happened like this.
Yeah. Do you want to share a little bit about your community?
Yeah. So it's, I started this community in April last year, so 2021. And I already had this idea in my mind for a longer time because I knew there isn't enough knowledge out there, enough support. And that's something I just really missed in my journey. So I thought, okay, I want to create something that's helping people with a concussion or TBI, just to not feel alone and to know what to do to move forward. Because I went to so many doctors and they always sent me home or try to prescribe some medicines that were doing more harm than good. So I just love to, I just started to connect with all these doctors or experts who were mostly on Instagram. And I just reached out to them, sending them a message. Okay, I have this in mind. I want to share more knowledge about concussion and what to do to move forward. Are you maybe interested in helping me with this? So I think I reached out to like 50 or 60 different experts and had a call with all of them. And we started to create classes, courses, and just put everything into this platform. And that's how I created this community. So the most important thing is just the knowledge and the support group, the community itself. So the two things in one place. I started this last year and now it's growing like every month. So we are now with, I think, 160 people in there. So I just love to see that it's helping them. And I hope it will help many others in the future.
Yeah, that's great. I just love your heart in doing that. You're so sweet. Like you just I just can tell you just want to help people. And I really love that. I really love that. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. But I think the same as your situation. We know how it feels to be in this dark place, right? And you don't want to let anyone else feel like that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, we don't want anyone to feel like they are alone or that there's no hope. You know, I just think it's so important for people to know that there is something you can do to help your recovery. You don't have to give up. You know, if certain doctors tell you one thing and they're like, there's nothing they can do, well, then find another, find another place.
Yeah.
So you made the trip from the Netherlands to the US for treatment. So that's a big trip. Yeah. Do you want to talk about what that process was like and why you chose to do that?
So, I never heard of them before, but someone in a Dutch support group told about this treatment. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But at first, I just read about it and I thought, oh, another thing that's not helping at all. So, because I read about so many treatments. And then I just put this article away and I thought, okay, I don't know. I just felt a bit skeptical about it. And then this article starts coming back to me because on Google, I found it everywhere. And then in this group, I did read more reviews about this treatment. And I started to follow another group just only about this treatment. And I think I started following this for a few months. And then it made me just curious because the results were very good. And I didn't feel like I had another option to try because I already tried many things and most things weren't working. So I felt like I think my intuition just told me like, okay, this could be it. And it was just in my mind for months. And I thought, okay, I need to try it because if I don't, it will always stay in my mind. Like, okay, what if I tried this treatment? So I decided to just book a free call with them. And a few weeks later, I had this Skype call with them and I asked them many questions and they could tell a lot of things. And I felt right away, okay, they know what they're talking about. And they could even say, I think your symptoms should be this, this, and this. And they were right, that everything was correct. And I thought, okay, I told them, okay, I need to think about it for a few days because, of course, it's expensive and flying all the way from Europe to America is just not something you do right away. So I called my parents afterwards and they told me, yeah, if you think this will help, I think you can try it and we will see then if it will help or not. So I sent them an email a few days after and told them, okay, I will want to schedule my treatment week. So I went there in, I think it was July 2019. And I had this 5-day treatment over there. So I went there for 2 weeks. I was for 2 weeks in America and the treatment was like 5 days. So I was really excited that the weeks before I I headed to America. Yeah, and it really helped me. So I'm really excited about sharing about this treatment. But I also know it's personal because they can't do any guarantees. So we are all different. And I was in a group with 10 people, and I think 8 people felt improvements and 2 people didn't. So I don't want to guarantee the results, but for me, I'm sharing my own experience. For me, it's really helped me. And I'm glad I went there.
Yeah, that's good. So, what things improved after the treatment?
I think on day 4, I felt this bubble feeling in my head, like there's sparkling water in your head, and it's like my head was always feeling very heavy, and like there was a lot of fatigue in my head. And then on day 4, it cleared up for a few hours, and I thought, oh, I never had this feeling after my accident. So that felt really great. That was the first thing I felt, first improvement I felt. And I noticed I felt very worse on Friday. That's why I remember the last treatment day. And I was so scary because I thought, oh, I'm back with where I was. And I lost all progress. But then on Saturday, I felt very good. And I went for a 3-hour hike. And I was just feeling great, like more energy. My sleep was better. I didn't have to nap anymore during the day because before the treatment, I always needed a nap after lunch. I just felt better. I could focus a bit better, like on conversations, for example. Before the treatment, I always I could concentrate maybe for 1 minute, and then the conversation was just too much, and it was like all the words were passing me. But I think these 4 things were the most important things that really helped. And all the improvements continued after the treatment as well. So you have to do some exercises again at home, the interval training and the cognitive exercise. You continue doing them after the treatment. So it's not only the 5 days, but also the months after.
Yeah, that sounds really similar to the treatment I did with Dr. Schmo at the Functional Neurology Center.
Oh.
I did a 5-day treatment there in 2019, and it helped me so much. It was life-changing. And, for me, I'd been living with these symptoms for over 11 years at that point.
Wow.
And so it's like, even no matter how far you're out from your brain injury, some of these new treatments for concussion, they're not just for people who just got concussions. Like your brain has the amazing, incredible ability to rewire in ways that we don't fully understand. The brain's so complicated. And I think, and I hope the research looks different 10 years from now. And they'll say, oh, back in 2022, they didn't know this. And now we can help concussions even better. And so I hope that it continues on this positive trend, because the last 10 years has been incredible in the changes. Right? Yeah.
I think it gives a lot of hope to people who are already suffering with this for years, because even in my group at the treatment, there was someone who was dealing with symptoms for like 30 years, and this person improved during that week. So
How many years did you say?
30.
30. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I believe we're all, because I get so many questions for people tell me, oh, I'm already dealing with this for years. For me, I just can't improve anymore. But what you just said, I believe we all can, no matter how many years we're dealing with all these things. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what encouragement would you give to a survivor who, they're listening to this episode called Rebuilding Life? They've heard your story, but they're still feeling discouraged about themselves. So, what encouragement would you give to a survivor?
I think it's the most important thing, just to know that there is always something out there that could help. And I know many people are in this negative circle of, okay, I'm not getting better. I don't know what to do anymore. Feeling lost, like this negative spiral. And I've been in this for like 2 years, so I know how it feels, but I know now I'm out of that. I know it will always come something that will help you. Maybe a treatment, a person, just some improvements you didn't expect. So I just want to know, everyone, that if you feel like this, in this negative spiral, and you don't know what to do, there is always hope, and just never give up, because there is always something coming your way, and I believe it will be there at the right time, the right moment. So I see it also as a learning process, because I learned so many things. Even in the most darkest moments, I think I learned the best lessons, and the positive things will come your way. Yeah.
What would you say to a family member whose loved one has had a concussion?
Try to be there for them, and believe them when they say, okay, I am not feeling well, or I'm experiencing this. Try to take as many tasks out of their hands, and never give up. Support them that it will get better. And I think that's the most important. Just support them and believe them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So this is called Hope Survives podcast. So the last question I always ask is, what are your words of hope? What hope would you like to share to close out our conversation today?
What I already said. So the hope for the future, a better future, improvement of symptoms, and just have an open mindset, then the hope will come your way, because hope is everything. And without the hope, you are nowhere, right? So believe there is hope. And if you don't see it right now, try to find ways like support groups, maybe try a new treatment, just something to move forward. And I believe the hope will come your way if you do that.
Wonderful. Oh, Silvie, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. It was so wonderful to get to talk with you today.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I loved it. Thanks.
So if people want to get in touch with you, they can follow at the Concussion Community on Instagram, and your website's the same name?
Yes, the concussioncommunity.com. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah. So check her out, get connected with her. She also has a podcast called the Concussion Community, and we're making plans for me to come on there eventually, probably next month or two. So definitely subscribe to her podcast and get connected with her also.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.